Nice, very good. I've done this long enough that if when we change someone's posture, you change their life. Put a low back chair, you take the armrests off. Doesn't look very professional. My butt's sticking out, and not that I have a butt. But the point is that you're arching your lower back.
Well, I sit down a lot
Okay.
for a living, and both work and at home, and I've just had a lot of general discomfort.
Okay.
And I don't know if I would have seen a chiropractor entirely just because of that. Kind of lived with that my whole life, but I guess recently noticed difficulty getting out of bed, feeling really heavy. And from the little bit of research I was able to do, I thought there might be an issue with circulation.
Okay.
And after getting blood tests done and having them come back normal,
Okay.
This was kind of my next
All
step.
right. When you say difficulty getting out of bed, does it feel like your legs feel weak? Do you feel pain?
No pain, no discomfort. Really, it's just like it's like I'm having to bench to get myself up.
Like a lot of work, effort,
Yeah,
a lot of effort.
Yeah, a lot of effort.
Gotcha. Okay. And I know briefly you mentioned last time that it felt like feel like legs feel cold? Did your legs?
Yeah. I wouldn't say they're actually cold. It's
But
more
just-
like the sensation a little bit, especially towards the bottom.
But you don't feel any numbness down your legs?
No.
Okay. And even in your back, do you feel any pain back there?
No, it's mostly just tension.
Tension. Okay.
I wouldn't say I'm in pain really anymore.
We have you to stand up. I'm just going to look at your posture real quick.
It's not good.
It's okay. So we're just going to follow me for a second. What you'll do is you just sort of roll your shoulders, walk in place,
Okay.
and then just try to, wherever you think center is, and you just look straight forward. I'm going to walk around you. You can stop moving and just look straight forward. I'm just going to look at your posture. You're looking good. All right. So, all right. The middle of your ear belongs over the middle of your shoulder.
Mm-hmm.
So our head's about 1.5 inches, 2 inches forward from your shoulder. What that does is that when the head angles forward because of life and how you sit for a living, the ligaments on the back side of your neck get stretched out, and the ligaments on the front are all tight. And so over time, your neck doesn't retract back to where it's supposed to be. And that creates discomfort or tension in your back based on the posture. Can't look at you, keep more. You stay right there. All right, you're fine. Left shoulder's a little high. I feel your hips here. There we go. And left hip's a little high. All right. So to effectively change the posture, to get your head back over your shoulders, we have to first go through your spine, make sure that all the pieces are working. The nerves that go out of your lower back go down your leg. And so the fact that you're feeling, everything you feel in your leg comes from your lower back. And so if your middle back is tense, if it's supposed to be soft in here.
Mm-hmm.
But when our head goes forward, feel this for a second. When my head goes forward, feel.
Yeah.
There's tension that I can't make it relax because you have to come upright for it to be relaxed. And so if there's tension in your middle back, when you try to get up out of bed in the morning, does that make sense?
Yeah.
All the stress is going to happen at the bottom. And if there's some stress down there, that affects the nerves. I'm just going to feel for a second. I just want to just sort of, is there any tenderness?
Tenderness, no, but it definitely feels tight.
Feels tight, okay. Or somebody even has sciatica, what we'll have is something called restless leg syndrome even.
Yeah.
Or there'll be,
I got a lot of that.
okay,
Yeah.
well that's significant because it's actually that when you mechanically stimulate the motion and muscles in your leg, it inhibits pain, or we call nociceptors. And so the restlessness is what I call pre-sciatica. I term that as and even heaviness or tension or cold. These are it isn't at a level yet because you're young. We're not at a high symptomatic level yet where everybody's, oh yeah, that's clearly sciatica. That's clearly, it's a little vague right now. And maybe if we didn't treat you, it would become, more grade 1, let's call it, where it reaches a certain threshold. What we find to be the most surgically active area is right at the bottom. So my care from my father teaching me is to almost completely avoid touching this area and to try to move the stress away from proactively anyway. All right, take one deep breath in, my friend. And then head back for me. Let all the air out. Keep going, keep going, keep going. Beautiful. Deep breath in. Let all the air out. Let it all go. There we go. Beautiful. Deep breath in. Head back. Exhale. Let the chin go down a little bit. Chin down. There you go. You're good. Put your hands around your belly. You're going to look over this shoulder a little bit. There we go. Perfect. Take a deep breath in. I'm just going to let you twist for a second. Exhale. Twist. Yeah, a little tight here. Wow. Yeah, we got to get you a little looser here. All right, breathe in deep. Exhale, twist. Very good, very good. Other side for me. I can't directly connect Alex with the idea of never being adjusted because I'm a chiropractor kid. You understand? You gotta realize how foreign a concept that is for me. It's like saying you've never brushed your teeth before in your life. Like, whoa. That's a pretty remarkable thing to me. I know for most people that's, I got you, there you go, good. There you go, good. They're loosening up. Breathe in, exhale. Nice, very good. Face up for me. Big ways of being 23. It's a good thing to catch back problems early, and I'm so glad you're here. It's just many times I'm on the back half of problems, and we're trying to.
Yeah, I mean, that one reason I'm going into trying to take care of a lot of things like this is because my dad is on disability and he's dealing with a lot, and he had a lot of 20, 30 years of doctors telling him,
right,
we don't know, or it's something wrong,
mm-hmm.
and I don't want to be in that place
right now
for the rest of my life.
We're on the back half,
mm-hmm.
right, and now we're trying to put out the fire instead of putting up fire.
Yeah.
Detectors or smoke detectors, and right, being preventative here. All right. Some tension up here, and this is from that forward head posture.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, well, the muscles are tense, and I think of it like a bowling ball. If I hold a bowling ball in front of me, my muscles contract because of where the position is. If I bring the bowling ball over my body, my muscles don't have to work as hard because of the position of the object. Your head weighs about 10 pounds roughly. Every inch your head goes forward, the muscles have to actually mechanically double their workload. So it goes from 10, 20, 40. So the spec rating for your muscles in your neck is holding about a 10-pound head. They're holding a 40-pound head. So the fact that there's tension in your neck is not surprising, and I don't really look at myself as treating trigger points or treating tight muscles. I treat the posture, and then the tight muscles go away. It's silly to me to just, I don't want to say silly, it is, we're not going to get anywhere if we're just treating muscles. It becomes, I believe, a more depressing thing because you help somebody temporarily, they come back in a few days, Ed, that tension's back again, and it's just a tough place to be as a practitioner where you're helping people, absolutely, but the problems keep reoccurring, right? And I've done this long enough that when we change someone's posture, you change their life. That having your ear over your shoulder, and can't remember when last time I had tension in my back. All that general discomfort that's there goes away when you're in what we call the ideal spinal position. And we're not taught at a young age where that is, how do we achieve it, how do we get there. All right, we're not trying to move every bone, we're just trying to loosen this top guy a little bit. I got you. It's okay. It's okay. Very good. It's okay. Turn it right. There we go. Chin up for me. It's okay. It's okay. I check the vertebrae for movement before I massage you, and somebody might say to me, well, Ed, if you massaged him first, or somebody might say to me, Ed, if you'd massage me first, that you'll get my bones moving much more easily. And that's true, but it shouldn't require a 15, 20-minute massage to get your vertebrae folding and bending. So we want to have the bones moving right on the first adjustment, just like your back and your hips did. And so I know like I said, most of your symptoms in your back are in your legs, but having your head forward is of great consequence to the health of your back and your legs. And so in terms of mobility, the neck has the most decreased mobility of anywhere in your back. And so Ed, I felt like you spent a lot of time in my neck. Correct. This is where the most restriction is. And even when I'm working on you, I've had people, where are you looking, Ed? I've trained myself to just look straight forward. Well, you need to show some care and comfort to your patients. But if I look down at him all day long, my neck will be killing me. I used to do that for the first year or so of my practice, and I remember my dad was, watched me one time when I was working on somebody, Ed, you were looking down at him. I was like, oh, I didn't, you just don't, you get into habits. If you don't have good habits of spinal posture, you don't realize what you're doing. So it's like the first way to fix a problem is to identify it, right? How can you fix a problem if you haven't identified it? So I didn't know, Ed, how much time I was just chilling, looking down. You understand?
Yeah.
And if I'm hanging around me long enough, it's going to be, stop doing that, stop doing that, bring your phone up, stop talking.
Yeah.
Every time you tuck your chin down, you're going to this bone at the top part of your neck is gonna go posterior or towards the back. And so there's supposed to be a lordotic curve, arch in your neck. The closer you are to that home position, the longer your spine's going to last, the easier it is for you to be adjusted. I think of it like a baseball field. If you're out there on the warning track of a baseball field, the distance is so far from home plate, it's a hard throw. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And so what the massage does is we walk the vertebrae towards the infield, and then it's an easier throw to home plate. And you shouldn't be out there in the warning track in the first place. The bone is in the wrong position to begin with. The idea is not, well, maybe you just need to learn how to throw harder. Like, no, the distance is too far. We need to bring him to a better position, and then the adjustments don't have to be these scary. Sometimes people watch an adjustment and they go, oh my gosh, that was scary looking. And they might be, because it's like watching somebody wind up and throw a baseball 300 feet. It's a large adjustment, but the point is that if you've been adjusted and you've had care, the adjustments don't have to be the high depth, high velocity. They'll just move easily, very little restriction.
And you were talking about the head position on the neck, and
Yes.
the guy who had come in before me was talking about, you noticed he was clenching his teeth a lot.
Right.
That's something I do too, and I
Do you
know
do it at night or during the day? You catch yourself
all
during
the time. All the time, yeah.
All right. If
And
it's-
you had mentioned that people say it's just tension a lot, but a lot of that is also the position of the head forward.
Right, very good. Yeah, the more forward your head goes, the more the TMJ is jammed, and the more likely you are to clench and feel tension in there. Retracting the head back relieves a lot of the tension on the scalenes, the masseter, and that takes pressure off the TMJ. So if it's at nighttime, you have a whole different ball game, because now we're dealing with usually stress, mental, and more physical injuries, and so your body, uses that as a stress reliever. We grind, and that's a tough one. So people get mouth guards, and I'm like, okay, the mouth guard's protecting your teeth, but that's not stopping the tension on the joint. I'm just coercing here. We're just trying to purposely use the word adjustment, not manipulation. And there's a point to it. We're not trying to move every bone. And unfortunately, it's easy to move every bone. It's more difficult to try to move one area. And the goal is to balance your spine, to loosen what's tight and to not loosen what's already loose, in an effort to remove stress off of the loose areas. Those are the areas that are the first to arrive, the last to leave, the ones that are actually older than you are. And until we have an MRI, X-rays really are silly at this age, because you can have a bulging disc in your 20s and 30s, and it actually looks really good on X-ray. Right? How depressing is that? Your X-ray looks good, but it's hiding. So before a disc desiccates and dries out and thins out, it'll actually bulge. And so I've had people with an X-ray, you understand, and then like the same week we go get an MRI. The X-ray disc height looks well maintained, but then you actually see that the disc height's well maintained because the discs are actually bulging and they're swelling, and you're missing that on X-ray. It just takes time to unglue the atlanto-occipital joint, the atlantoaxial joints. These joints up here are just. Ed, I think if you were slower on your massage, it'd be more gentle and more soothing. I'm not trying to do a gentle massage. We're trying to break down glue in areas that are frozen. Within 10 days of a joint not moving, it becomes frozen. This principle is understood in the medical world as frozen shoulder. If you injure your shoulder and then don't move your shoulder, within 10 days you'll have a shoulder that doesn't move anymore. That principle of frozen shoulder can be applied to any joint in your body. When a joint doesn't move because of your posture, because of injury, that area becomes glued, or there's sandpaper, crystals, plaque on the surface of the joint. And so I would imagine trying to slide two pieces of sandpaper over each other. They would catch, right? They don't slide effortlessly. And then imagine sliding two pieces of silk over each other. There'd be an effortlessness to it. So that's what I'm feeling in your neck. There's a grit up here. What I would diagnose you, it's not something you can Google. This doesn't exist. It's called frozen upper neck. You have frozen, the joints in your upper neck are not gliding effortlessly, and I'm not worried about your upper neck in terms of its health. Another area is going to have to compensate for this area under functioning, and that's it. So And you mentioned for a second, right? When I rubbed the right side, it got pretty smooth, and then I went over here, and you were,
Yeah.
oh boy.
You feel the difference going from one to the other.
Very good. So I loosened up the right, and then I came over to the left side, and he was like, whoa. Should come up pretty quick. I felt a lot. Yeah, I mean, right there. The left upper part of your neck is actually tighter than the right.
I figured they wouldn't be even.
Yeah, I mean, they're pretty quick. I'm not going that hard, right? I mean, this is
No.
Yeah. I mean, this is not digging hard. The skin's fine. It's really light pressure that I'm not pushing with very much effort, and you'll see these marks come up. This is what's trapped in here. This is why the upper neck isn't moving properly. It can't be pictured on an MRI. It can't be measured on an X-ray, and so therefore it doesn't exist. It can't be seen on a blood test. They want it to be objectifiably measurable. It can be felt.
Yeah.
You can feel it go away. There. As we progress through the care, you might feel, Ed, I don't feel like your gua shawing me as hard, or no marks are coming out. Does that make sense? Because the marks only are here because there's something internally, and as the joint moves, the mobility of the joint prevents that crystal from forming. Does that make sense? The tightness is what produces the frozen shoulder. The lack of mobility allows all this to build up in here. Okay. Very good. All right. I know. Yeah, those are attachments up here on the occiput. Yeah. These are the tendons dive through the bone because of that posture. These attachment points are under a lot of pressure and tension. You want to push down those attachments. Okay. Let it go. There we go. It's okay. We have this side. All right. Okay. That's all. That's all we're gonna get. Not sure if I'm filming, you can see that, but that's all elevated. Sorry, it feels ticklish, Ed.
Oh, you're okay.
So it's all, the ribs are elevated here. I think I saw that as a left high shoulder when you were standing upright, but there's usually something, it could be an injury in here, or even how you sit, drive. That feels delightful, Ed, I know. You can write it there, right? That's all gotta be. The eventual goal of Ed, is that all you got? Ed, there's nothing difficult in there. There you go. There's no pain or tenderness that's normal. I don't accept any of that. Oh yeah, it's just normal tension. That's the oxymoron. It's either there's a postural problem or there's an injury that's guarded. And either way, we need to treat it and move through and get rid of it. Something happened to your left, to these ribs up here, and as a result, your head and your torso tilts to the right, your head tilts left. Your body's trying to get away from, and then of course I'm making you confront it. Which makes this very fun. And I don't make many friends the first few visits because it's much easier to run away from your problems than to try to tell people to turn around and confront them. It's more temporarily satisfying to get away from things, and I don't teach that, and so it's...
Do you run across a lot of injuries that aren't, because I have two major injuries and they're both broken bones and they're not in my chest back at all.
Okay, tell me.
Do you I was just saying, do you run across a lot of injuries that people didn't know they had?
Well, a lot of spinal injuries it's hard to connect the dots because when you injure this joint, your body will heal away from it and it'll go away pretty quickly.
Okay.
So with the spine, unlike an extremity, if you sprain an ankle, it's fairly hard to avoid it, unless you don't walk on that leg, right? But because of the spine having no feeling on the front side, people will have back injuries and then quickly lean away from them, and then they think they're fine.
Okay.
Right? So in that sense, they don't know that it happened. They maybe knew briefly, right? Whenever they fell off a trampoline or, does that make sense? Something happens, you go, ooh, that didn't feel right.
Yeah.
And then you're like, oh, I'm okay. You understand, the typical American walk it off mentality comes into play, and walk it off means as you're walking, your body finds a new comfortable position. Does that make sense? Your head goes forward an inch, your body tilts to the right a little bit, and you find a new position to get relief in. We call that antalgia. Antalgia means, anta means away from, algia means pain. So an antalgic posture, again, why do the discs have no feeling? I don't know. I have questions. I don't know why they have no feeling. It would make me be able to just ask you how you feel. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Be a primary way of treating you. And I can't do that because you can't feel half your spine. So therefore I have to use posture, mobility. Does it make sense? How your spine feels, how clean it is, meaning how many marks come up. Does that make sense? As a barometer for your care. But yeah, like right here, I want all of that going. Yeah, lovely, Ed. Like right there. It crosses over, so it's here, and then there's a right, so left upper, and then a right lower. This is the compensatory tightness due to the left upper tightness. It causes a right lower tightness. Yeah, right there. I don't like it. Well, give me the story of those legs.
Well, the first one, I was 3 years old.
Okay.
And I just leg went the wrong way on a McDonald's slide, broken leg.
Wow.
And that was my only broken bone for a while. And then I was 15 in high school, and I crashed my bike into the side of a walkway bridge and broke my nose.
So your head hit the...
Yep. Face first, and it was like I broke it, but I didn't break the bridge.
Okay.
So they never broke it back into place.
Gotcha.
So it's kind of just been, self-healed, and I already had problems with my sinuses, and I'm pretty sure I have a deviated septum or something that's even worse because of that now.
See, the significance of that is if that much force went into your face, how much force also went into your upper back?
Yeah.
Makes sense?
Yeah, that could have been from there, definitely.
Right. You didn't break, you broke your nose, but you didn't break anything in here, but they definitely got stressed.
Yeah.
They definitely got sprained, and then, walk it off, kid.
Yeah.
Your body healed in left avoidance and what I would call right abuse. Yeah, real quickly. It's pretty, I was pretty gentle there. Real quickly, there's a mark here on your left upper side. There is compared to your right, the left upper has a rib injury here, probably coming from that head injury. And because we get away from it and lean away from it, we don't know it exists. And actually, this would never cause a problem in its own. It would eventually cause right leg sciatica. You would eventually...
Yeah, it's funny. That's the one that's restless usually.
Right.
So doesn't surprise me.
You're already inflaming. This is pre-sciatica on the right lower. His biggest tightness is here on the left middle. He's getting right lower abuse. We're going to, you would see accelerated aging on the disc on the right lower. It'd have to be a seated MRI. They take these laying down MRIs, which depresses me. If you're taking a picture of a liver, brain, organ, by all means lay down. It doesn't matter if you're upright or laying down. But when we get a picture of the spinal column, right, it needs to be weight bearing.
Yeah.
Right? It's a mechanical structure, and they take these laying down MRIs, and it just saddens me because now a patient can be in a lot of discomfort, and their MRI comes back looking good. And then as a patient, it's got to be very frustrating. It's like, I'm in pain here. I got symptoms, and they're telling me my MRI is good. And I go, well, let's go get a seated one, and then we can. And then they're confronted with the reality. Yeah. Not as much over here, but then this right here should be a little bit. There's definitely something trapped in there. If this joint gets stiff, then there's an extra level of percentage of stress that L5 and L4 have to handle. So, Ed, that hurts. I know we have to. We want to work through this to a point where, Ed, it actually feels good to have that joint worked on, and there's no discomfort. First adjustment, you're doing great. First time anybody's dug in here. Like cleaning teeth, nobody's taken a hook and started scraping. And
Yeah.
I didn't know all that plaque was there. I understand is the mobility of the spine is what keeps the plaque from building up. Just like brushing your teeth keeps your teeth clean. Spinal range of motion keeps your spinal column clean. Yeah, you handled the left hip pretty good. The right
Yeah.
hip, yeah.
It's not pain, but it's a lot of tension.
Yeah, tenderness and tension. Again, we're catching it on the early side. This is what early,
Mhm.
you know, it's not full blown. My foot's numb. I got shooting pain down in I got spasms and Charlie
Yeah.
horses and okay, yeah, Dr. Ed, you're right. It is a disc injury. No, this is a disc injury too. This is the same thing at not even a grade 1 level. It can be ignored and then grown to a level that now everybody agrees with me, or we can just nip it right in the bud, pull the weed when it's still small and it's much easier. That's that rib injury right in there. That's what we want to, when we're stretching in a minute, we're going to try to target that area and not let your body tilt. I got you, brother. All right, good. Some of the fun stuff. Oh, just get the toes and there we go. About 80% of the weight belongs on your heel, and so the more these two joints have been jammed here a little bit, the more forward the head goes. That makes sense. When you're walking, there's extra weight on these joints. These should move, and they actually feel stiffer than they're supposed to be. But that's because of the posture. Gotcha. Yeah, there we go. Yeah. Was this ankle more busted? This ankle feels good.
Oh,
Hard to tell.
yes.
This one doesn't feel right. I don't like how your left ankle feels. Especially, I thought if it felt the same as this, I go, okay, he's got stiff ankles. This moved, like I barely pulled on it, and it was like normal. That ankle feels beautiful here. This ankle feels like it's been, somebody hurt me, and locked down. This doesn't, you're fine, you can just like, yeah, there's just, like there's a glue there. Yeah, there's some tension inside that ankle. I'm almost curious, like, have you just point? Let me see, point. Yeah, even your ability to point your toes. That makes sense?
Yeah.
You know, point this one. Yeah, it's more normal. He can, just his range of motion, being able to point's better. This one doesn't want to. Makes sense?
Mhm.
Your ankle doesn't like, look at me for a second. Okay, that should be able to go
Yeah.
straight. Your ankle on the right doesn't want to point as, it's like a currency. You've lost some of your, and the joint cleans itself through range of motion. So when you lose range of motion, now there's arthritis. Now you have crystals forming in the joint. So you want to maintain that mobility of the ankle joint. There we go. Real gentle. Here we go. Tilt your head left for me a little bit. There we go. Yep, you know. You all right?
Yeah, felt that.
Yeah. No. Adjustment here. Tilt your head left. There we go. It's okay. There we go. All right, go ahead and tilt your head. Yeah. It's okay. Okay. There we go. Tilt. There we go. It's okay. The idea is to start at the top. About every minute, you're gonna roll. Yep, and you push with your feet, and yeah, and then stay here for a second. Stay there. Keep your bottom down, and just breathe. Breathe. Let your body sink in. Let it be. Yeah, you gotta let that be okay. Does that make sense? It's just, we've never spent time opening up the front part of our body. We collapse forward most of work in life, and so it's just, if everybody was bending back all the time, I'd be telling people to bend forward, right? It's just balance. People are imbalanced forward, so we have to we have to arch back. Now the joints on your spine have a lot of feeling, so as you're, especially up where that rib is on that side, you might feel it on that left upper side. If your hands are going tingly,
Yeah, they were when,
Yeah.
when they were up.
yeah, it's just what we're having is that there's tension. The brachial plexus is underneath your pec, and because that tightness is in your pec, that presses down on the brachial plexus. As you progress through this, that will happen less. That's happening because of your rounded forward shoulders. We need to work on that, but I don't need that numbness to persist, so I would let it come back, you understand?
Mhm.
And then try to come back up there
Yeah.
and attack it again. So watch the difference between this position, right? This is how I type, and so it's difficult to maintain that arch in your lower back in the normal seated position. Even if I tried my best, this is going to be somewhat straighter. there is an advantage to sitting at the edge of the chair. If you have to sit normally, it is harder to slouch when there's no back behind you. So this does force a little bit more curve in your back, sitting towards the edge. But the ideal, to me, way I do most of my paperwork, I put a low back chair, you take the armrests off. Doesn't look very professional. My butt's sticking out, and not that I have a butt, but the point is that you're arching your lower back, right? See how I've got my ear, keyboard here, and monitor eye level. And you're almost trying to, I'm gonna exaggerate, you're almost trying to lay down. That makes sense, on your belly. I think of Tom Cruise in Mission Impossible. You know, that would be the ideal working position, floating from the ceiling with a harness. You know, it's not practical. My point is that,
What do you mean? You can't just float?
you know, well, anyway, so give it a shot.
Okay.
Yeah, so yeah, and then put the legs back, now sometimes a little bit, yeah, back there, good. Put your belly into that front part, and then try to arch.
Yeah.
Yeah. Interweave it through your day. Obviously not for business meetings,
Yeah.
but for time when you don't have anybody around, this position gives you some balance. And you can sit the other way. It's really imbalance is the problem. If you sit like this, then you sit like this, and then having support helps, having some pressure here, but I've just for my own back. And then sometimes people need to have their spine loosened up so that we can do this. Your spine's ready to go right to this, but some patients online might say, let me try to do this, and then they just bend too much in one spot, or their hips are too tight. So you have to have hips that are somewhat flexible to be able to go into this position, a somewhat healthy back. But this is where I want people to be, if you can. Yeah, I'm just gonna feel. The ideal thing with the wrists is this is actually not a neutral position. That's not neutral. Neutral is actually this.
Okay.
It's actually something that's why they make we call a cock-up splint. That's actually neutral. So you want ergonomic keyboards. You'll see they're more like they have the wrist because that's actually the more neutral position. This is not actually a neutral position. It's just sort of odd. They don't teach that, but. Let me see. I always wondered why the ergo keyboards look like that. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
That's why they're trying to aim you in that direction. No, it feels good. They're all moving now. Feels like a normal wrist. That right there, you want to let that sink in. Let that be okay for that to go in there. And that keeps that arch in your back and not letting, not letting that round out. So. All right, Alex, very good.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. Thank you for coming. I appreciate it.